All right, good evening, everybody. It is now 6:30, and I call to order this meeting of the Lincoln County Planning Commission. As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded, and the order of events tonight will be as follows. For each public hearing, staff will introduce the agenda item and present a summary of the staff report. The applicant will then be asked to explain their proposal in further detail and to answer any questions from the Planning Commission members. I will then open the floor to public comment, first in persons in support of the application, and then for persons in opposition of the application. When you step up to the podium, please state your name, your address, and speak clearly into the microphone. Each speaker will have the chance to speak once and should keep their comments to less than 5 minutes. Speakers are encouraged to only address new and relevant information pertaining to the item. Above all, please be cordial to all meeting participants and refrain from side conversations and speaking out of turn, or you will be asked to leave. Lastly, the decisions on rezoning applications will be scheduled for additional public hearing during the upcoming County Board of Commissioners meeting. Decisions on conditional use permits applications can be appealed to the County Board of Commissioners by submitting a letter to the County Planning and Zoning Office within 5 business days. All right. With that, I'll do roll call, see who's all here. Commissioner Hogan?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
Commissioner Green?
Here.
Commissioner Scott?
Here.
Commissioner Poppins?
Here.
And Commissioner Jungling's also here. All right. We have enough people to do some voting. All right, approval of the meeting minutes. Did everybody get a chance to look at the last meeting? Any corrections?
Make a motion to approve the draft minutes as posted.
Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Brown.
We do have, staff does have one correction to the minutes.
Oh,
That's in the public hearing, item number 1. Marilyn Rainback, she was the individual that testified in opposition to the application. In the minutes, she's listed as the property owner. She's actually a renter of the land in the south, so we'd just like to correct that in minutes instead of property owner, renter of the land in the south. But with that, the minutes should be okay.
okay, thank you.
Make a motion to approve with correction. Green.
Second, Scott.
All right, a motion, second, to make, to approve them with the correction. Discussion? Seeing none, I'll do roll call. Commissioner Hogan?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Green?
Yes.
Commissioner Scott?
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
And Commissioner Jungling is also a yes. All right, the meetings are approved. Meeting agenda, any changes tonight, Mr. Brown?
No changes, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I'll ask for a motion from the board.
I'll move to approve the agenda. Scott?
I'll second. Hogan.
All right, motion and a second. Any further discussion on the agenda for tonight? Seeing none, I'll do roll call for approval. Commissioner Hogan?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Green?
Yes.
Commissioner Scott?
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
And Commissioner Jungling is also a yes. All right, at this time, I'll ask for public input on any non-agenda items. So anything that's not on tonight's agenda, you guys want to talk about anything, let us know. Please come up and state your name. Seeing none, I'll close the floor to public input. And old business, any old business, Mr. Brown? All right, with that, we'll move to public hearings and application number 1.
Good evening, Toby Brown representing County Planning. This first item is an application to rezone approximately 6.5 acres from the A1 Agricultural District to the C Commercial District. The applicant for this item is Nathan Lund. The property owner is A&T Rentals LLC. This property is adjacent to the city of T. The comprehensive plan for Lincoln County identifies this property as urban expansion area. The city of T's comprehensive plan identifies this parcel as commercial in the future. Subject property, again, is zoned A1 agricultural. The nearest property would be the property adjacent to the east. The county rezoned that property, I believe, about 2 years ago. The same property owner at that time, and that was the expansion of the sanitation facility, which is directly to the south. The rest of the property to the south, there is a commercial development. That is a commercial, what I call subdivision. So there's quite a few commercial properties, primarily warehousing and contractor shops. The adjacent property to the north is annexed into the city of T. That is currently a housing development. The city of T was contacted by staff in regards to this application because they do site plan review. This property is in the process of going through a preliminary plan update with the city of T. The city voiced no objections to the applications for this evening. The property is what I would call undeveloped. There is no buildings on the property at this time. The applicant did submit a concept plan primarily because a requirement of the city subdivision authority. They did identify that there would be structures placed on the property. Primarily, it would be for a retail type building and then also some self-storage facility. This is the exhibit that would show, again, if approved, what the proposed zoning would be like for that subject area. So staff did review the application as part of the staff report. Staff did identify that this property, again, is in an urban expansion area as identified by Lincoln County, and the city of T's underlying comprehensive plan identifies this as a future commercial area. And again, it is adjacent to commercial area. So staff's opinion is that this application is consistent with the comprehensive plan for Lincoln County and the city of T. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have for staff at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Commissioners, any questions for staff?
Okay, thank you.
All right, with that, I'll ask the applicant to come forward and talk about their application.
I'm Nathan Lund Engineering and Environmental. I'm working with Tom Howie, A&T Rentals. This property, Tom is looking at, one correction for Toby is self-storage. Tom is looking at doing some additional shop space in there. So it wouldn't necessarily, there may be some interior storage in there, but it would be primarily shop space for him, indoor shop space. And then looking at some, a small boutique, commercial boutique area up on the north end of the property up there. Currently, as Toby stated, it's zoned as agricultural. We're looking to just change the zoning at this stage from agricultural to commercial, consistent with the urban plans and the development plans, or the general layout of the area or planning for the area.
All right. Thank you, Nathan. Commissioners, any questions for the applicant? All right. Thank you,
Thank you.
Nathan. All right, with that, I'll ask anybody in favor of the application, please come forward and speak. All right, seeing none, I'll ask anybody in opposition of the application, please come forward.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Johansson. I live at 27057 469th Avenue, T, South Dakota. So I don't know if this is the right map. I saw a map earlier of the overlay where the residents right across the street. So I guess maybe not really opposition. I didn't get up here in time for the approval, but my biggest question is just, and I maybe didn't see it in the planning, but where's the proposed driveway for it, I guess? We're off of 469th already, and it's busy. So I guess that was my only kind of question, and like I said, maybe not true opposition, but just want to know that in approving this, that there's consideration for the road or, traffic on that area. we pull out of our driveway and it's already in a passing zone, and we're only quarter of a mile past where it goes to 55. And so sometimes we don't even have time to get up to 55 just to turn left into our driveway, and we're almost getting run over. Our mailbox is across that road, so like just different things like that, just considerations for that application, I guess, to understand what the traffic is gonna be like. And putting commercial in there would just increase the traffic in and around that area. So I think in the last 6 weeks, there were actually 2 accidents right on 469th and Cody Trail right there. So it just goes to show some people coming out of there are leaving town pretty fast, and there's gonna be more traffic and commercial activity there, just consideration for the traffic flow on 469th. So,
Okay, thanks, Jim. We'll ask that question for you. All right, anybody else in opposition of the application? All right, with that, I'll close the floor to public input. Before we ask a motion, Nathan, could we ask you that question? Are there plans for a driveway off 469th, or is that coming?
As it stands right now, no, there isn't at this time. We haven't completed a development plan for this yet. So access at this time is still gonna be off of Cody Trail where it currently is. Wouldn't put anything additional out there. If there was going to be additional access onto 469th, I think that would come at some point when the city reconstructs 469th in there. And access would be, if there was gonna be additional access, it would have to be consistent with the city of T and their design considerations.
Okay. Thank you very much.
So, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
just to add to that, so basically all that's in front of us is the rezone.
Right.
And so to answer your question, basically, when they apply for a permit for their whatever they're gonna build, that's when we'll discuss the entry and the driveways, and that's when we can get into a little more detail. All this is just the rezoning of the property. It's not giving him permission or saying he can or can't put driveways anywhere currently.
Thank you, Commissioner Scott. All right, with that, I'll ask for a motion if there's nothing else.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the rezone.
Second, Green.
We have a motion and a second. Commissioners, any discussion?
It seems to be consistent with the area that's currently for zoning purposes. I do find it interesting, given the rapid growth of that area, that we're, rezoning a piece of property that's, I would hope is in the very near future of being part of the municipality for services, especially if you're looking at, retail space and things like that versus just some storage. So I have some reservations about that, not clear as to what its purpose is going to be for the future. So I think an area like that, given the proximity to 9 Mile Creek, there's some reservations about doing this at this point, but it is consistent with the area around it. So I probably will support it, given, Toby, you said that municipality of T had no opposition to it. Thank you.
All right. All right, with that, we'll ask for, or I'll do roll call on the vote to approve the rezone. Commissioner Hogan,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Scott,
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
And Commissioner Jungley is also a yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, with that, we'll move to item number 2, please.
Okay, this next item is an application to rezone approximately 4.25 acres from the A1 Agricultural District to the C Commercial District. The applicant for this item is Alan Welsh, and the property owner is Darcy Johnson. Location is adjacent to the city of Canton. The comprehensive plan identifies this property as urban expansion area. The city comprehensive plan for Canton identifies this particular area as a future commercial property area. As you can see, the property is zoned A1 agricultural, as is the properties adjacent to the west and to the east. The property directly adjacent to what is the northwest is annexed into the city of Canton. That would be the Gate City Event Center. The property is currently undeveloped. There is no structures on the property. The applicant did not submit a true concept plan with the application to identify kind of structures or anything on the property. Did submit this draft plat to staff. So again, it would not be the entire area that was identified with on the maps that I just showed you. It would just be a portion of it, the 4.25 acres, just directly adjacent to the highway. And so, again, I've said this before, and this periodically happens, there is no requirement that a concept plan be submitted with an application. It's encouraged. But what I should say in the first application, I'll say in this application, is that by state statute, we can't put a condition on this approval. So to say that it's going to be this or this, I always say that it could be anything that's allowable within a commercial zoning district. That would be what's permissible. On the application, the applicant did identify a retail liquor establishment. But again, that's not, again, we can't condition it. That's not what it could be or might be or what it would be, I guess, to better say that. Again, the proposed purpose would be for commercial type development of the property. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have for staff at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Commissioners, any questions for staff?
And maybe you can't answer this, Toby, but just looking at, when you look at the zoning map there, to me, it just kind of looks like it should be part of Canton. What do you think the plan is in the future, and what are the implications if we rezone it and then the city annexes it? Or are there?
Well, I mean, again, it's, the property is currently in the unincorporated area. It's under the county jurisdiction. I can't tell someone, we can't tell someone to come in here and say, well, we're not going to rezone this. You got to go through the city of Canton. It's their right as a property owner to do this. I guess I always hope and tell them that you probably should discuss this with staff from the city to identify if there's any concerns that they have. And again, at this point, I think you made it very clear in the previous application, at this stage, we're just looking at rezoning. If there's any development of the property or any platting would have to go through the city of Canton, so that'll have to be approved by their staff and their boards. The zoning part of it, if there's then any conditional use to be applied for, we work directly with the city to make sure it meets all of their requirements.
So that's where
Yeah.
the city would have a lever to be able to be able to do what they want to see fit.
Yeah, and again, they have subdivision authority over this, so
Okay.
they can deny the subdivision, they can require things in the subdivision, things like that, so. But, I recognize that there's individuals from the city of Canton tonight, and they can answer some of those questions or their concerns that they might have with the application. But basically, at this stage, we're at a 500-foot level that the applicant wants to utilize land for commercial development, and from us, I should end with, the staff analysis, we identified that this application is consistent with the county comprehensive plan and the city of Canton's comprehensive plan. There is zoning that within to the north of the property that's been zoned commercial and light industrial for well over 40 years. That's been utilized for that area, as well as the property that's within the city of Canton is zoned commercial with the city of Canton. So again, staff as determination is that this is consistent with the general plans for this area. With that, I'd have to answer more questions you have for staff.
I have a couple of questions, but anyone
No,
else?
go
want-
ahead.
No, I'll go last. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you say that you spoke with the city of Canton?
I did speak with staff from the city of Canton, but I didn't hear any other communication, no. So I spoke with the city attorney. I'll just state that on record, so, yeah.
Toby, maybe this be for the applicant also, but will there be access to the rest of that farm ground off the highway then, or is that I guess, is it going to be replatted where there wouldn't be access to the rest of that ground?
So the jurisdiction of access will be the state of South Dakota. They'll have to determine where there's going to be access points to there. And then the other parts of it will be the city of Canton has jurisdiction over access and the planning and the subdivision property.
What the proposed plat is going all the way up to the other one. I'm just looking for a driveway to get to that.
Yeah,
rest of
again,
the field.
yeah, again, we're, that's kind of steps down the road, but I haven't engaged anyone in that, and I don't have jurisdiction over that, so.
To
the
answer
county
your
doesn't.
question, Jerry, there's one over on Highway 11 to the west.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Any other questions, guys?
Are there any implications with the railroad right there that would be any concerns?
Not that I'm aware of. No.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Brown.
you.
All right, at this time, I'll ask the applicant to come forward and talk about their proposal.
Yep. Joe Stavig on behalf of Alan Welsh and Darcy Johnson. Similar to what Mr. Brown said, just a simple rezoning at this point. So we're in preliminary discussions with Van Buskirk, who we're meeting with tomorrow to talk about retail development, but still to be determined at this time.
All right, thank you, Joe. Commissioners, any questions for the applicant?
Where is the current access for that property?
I believe it's, right off of the main highway there.
It is right now.
Yeah.
Highway 11.
Will that need to be improved for access?
Quite
believe-
possibly. I mean, still preliminary, so.
All right, you good, Commissioner Poppins?
I'm all right for now.
All right, thank you, Joe. All right, at this time, I'll ask anybody in favor of the application, please come forward and speak. All right, I'll ask anybody in opposition of the application to come forward.
Mr. Chairman, my name's Larry Nelson. I'm the city attorney for Canton, and could I be a commentator rather than an opponent?
What was that, Larry?
May I be
wants
a
to
commentator
choose, or neutral.
rather than an
Okay.
opponent?
Yep.
In the application, you're going to see that they would like to conceptually intend to construct and operate a liquor retail store. And I'm going to tell you, there's a statute, it's 35-411.1, where it says that you can't have a county off-sale liquor license within 3 miles of a municipal boundary. Oddly enough, the city of Canton does have a municipal liquor license that could be of use to this business when they annexed into town. Our concern here is to make sure that there is a concept plan that everybody understands what is going to happen, particularly on items that have been addressed here today. Where the driveway is going to go, what will the highway department, South Dakota Highway Department, allow, and how is everything going to work so we have a smooth transition to development of the rest of the property. I think some of the things that are being discussed in that particular locale or near it, the concept designs have to be within the city of Canton for those to occur. And so I wanted to open the door and discuss with you your plans for annexation, and just to tell you that we concurred with Toby's comments as it relates, there has to be a concept plan. But I'd be happy to answer any questions, and I'm a commentator, not an opponent.
All right. Do you have any questions?
So do you feel, Larry, that in the event that it is rezoned, does that change anything for the city's ability to annex it?
Well, we would hope that the annexation would be voluntary. It would be based upon that property's need to have access to sewer and water and city facilities. And that there's a recognition that this is gonna end up being an urban area, which to build out is gonna have to comply with the ordinances of the city of Canton.
Yep.
We'd like to start that discussion, and I'm here simply to extend my hand out and say, let's talk.
Okay. But the city is interested in that.
Yes, sir.
And if we rezone this commercial, that'll still have no effect on annexation or,
Well, it is in our concept plan, the city master plan, that is identified as a commercial area. I believe that our ordinance says when somebody's annexed in, they go to A1 again. We realize that our master plan says this is something that should be considered for commercial property. We just want to make sure all the potential uses that could be made out there come together and it all works, looks nice, and we don't have a cluster. We have something that's well thought out.
understood.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'll ask anyone in opposition of the application come forward and speak. All right, seeing none, I'll close the floor to public input. And I'll ask a motion from the commission, and we can have a discussion after that.
I'll make a motion to approve the rezone. Green.
I'll second that motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I just want to say, I know that if we approve the rezoning, once it goes to Canton then, to their planning and zoning with the plating in the concept plan and stuff like that, they would then have the opportunity to talk to them about getting the annexing in. I'm also on the city of Harrisburg's planning and zoning, so we often tie that in with their concept plans and have them sign like a pre-annexation agreement and make sure that that's all taken care of all in one, fall sweep. So I don't know, it sounds like it's something that the city of Canton is in agreement with, of the rezoning and.
Go ahead.
Yes, please, Larry.
We're very interested what happens with the property, and we're very interested with, working with the property owner. Like the city of Harrisburg, we'd like to know what's gonna happen, and we wanna make sure that all the pieces fit, and that'd be roads, sewer, water, and all the things that you talk about when you're on the planning commission in Harrisburg.
Perfect. So I think, I think the rezone is, I'm in favor of it because the following steps will be in the city of Canton's hands, and they can mold it into what they, want it from here, so.
Jerry?
Commissioner
Chairman,
Poppins?
I think it'd be appropriate for staff to reiterate what the procedures would be before a building permit could be ever granted on that site. Thank you.
So if the rezone would be granted by the Board of Commissioners, then prior to issuance of a building permit, the property have to be platted, of course, would be the first step. That would go through the city of Canton. They would ensure, like Commissioner Hogan stated, that we encourage probably a pre-annexation agreement that would go with that process, as well as, configuration of the lots and all of that. And then prior to issuance of a building permit, I work with those communities that have that authority to make sure that we don't approve a site plan. You'll typically see that when we do conditional use permits, that we condition it, that it would be approved by the city of Canton. So more than likely, this will require a conditional use permit. They'll have to come back before the boards anyways that would look at all those things and allow the city of Canton to engage in, having any comments on what the potential land use would be for that area too, so. But that'd be the process. We work directly with the city. Do we work directly as much as I'd like to at this stage of the process? No. I mean, we check their plans, we make sure it's consistent. But we know that the development of the property, that's very airtight, that the city's gonna be directly involved in that. And they have authority to approve or deny it too, so. Thank you.
Thank you.
So again, I mean, just like our first one, I think what we're voting is a recommendation of a rezone. And knowing that there's gonna be lots of levers for the city of Canton to use if it is passed. I guess I'm in favor of it. It might expedite the process along a little bit to get those two groups talking about this and getting it going the right direction. So Yeah, just on that basis of just the rezone, I guess, yeah, I'll be in favor of it.
Yeah, and I agree. And judging by Joe's shaking and nodding over there, him and Larry have some conversations here pretty soon, so I'll be in support of this one. Any other discussion? All right, we'll do roll call on the motion to approve the rezone. Commissioner Hogan,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Scott,
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins,
Yes.
and Commissioner Jungling is also a yes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Brown, item number 3.
Okay. This next item is an application for a conditional use permit. This is for a public utility facility. Specifically, this item is for a utility or a pump station. The owner or the applicant for this is South Lincoln Rural Water, and I believe I've just been told that they've in the staff report, it was identified that the property owner was Highland Farms Inc., but I believe that's finally been transferred, so the property owner is South Lincoln Rural Water System. Location of this property is approximately 14 or 1,300 feet west of the city of Canton. This property, as was noted, is currently zoned A1 agricultural. All surrounding property or adjacent property is zoned A1 agricultural. Subject property is undeveloped or doesn't have any structures on it as of today. The applicant did submit a site plan with the application that identified an improvement that would be on the property. Again, this would be a pump station for the South Lincoln is a rural water system that services primarily the southern area of Lincoln County. So the staff did review this application, did have some discussions with the applicant. And the staff analysis identified that this application is consistent with the Lincoln County Code of Ordinances, and staff does recommend approval of this application with the conditions that were identified in the staff report. And those are those 7 conditions there. With that, I'd be happy to answer questions that you have for staff at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Commissioners, any questions for staff?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'll ask the applicants or the representative come forward and speak on the proposal.
Thank you. Thank you, Commission. I'm Eric Stearns with DGR Engineering, representing South Lincoln Rural Water. I'm the engineer on the project. The Canton Pump Station is a 14 by 20 stick-built building. It's going to be used to improve water service to the area north of Canton. There's about 100 users up there that are going to improve water service to them. Currently, the plan right now is to start construction in the spring, with construction lasting throughout the summer into the fall. What's kind of holding that up, or what's going to make that last so long, is delivery schedules of materials, as we've seen with all construction projects. So construction will be kind of fits and starts here and there, but really it's the size of the building, the scope of the actual building is kind of a glorified shed, really. It's going to be 2x6 stud walls with rock paneling and then a steel roof on it, so.
All right, thank you, Eric. Commissioners, any questions for the applicant? So, Eric, is this done to just improve water pressure?
Yeah, pressure and flow to the area north of town. They've seen a lot of growth in that area, and as that continues to grow, they're gonna need more water up in there to improve pressure and water, so.
And I'm assuming rural water's in the ditch
Yep,
to tap into and
yep.
pump it? Okay. All right, Commissioners, any additional questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, I'll ask anybody in favor of the application come forward and speak. All right, I'll ask anybody in opposition of the application come forward and speak. Seeing none, I'll close the floor to public input, and I'll ask for a motion from the commission.
I'll move to approve with the conditions. Scott?
Second, Johnson.
All right, motion a second. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, I'll do roll call. Commissioner Hogan,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Scott,
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins,
Yes.
and Commissioner Jungling is also a yes. Thank you, motion passes. Application number 4.
Okay, thank you. This next item is an application for a conditional use permit. This is for a public utility facility. Specifically, this is for an elevated water storage tank. The applicant and property owner is South Lincoln Rural Water System. Location of this property is a little over 4 miles to the southwest of the city of Canton. Subject property or parcel size is 3 acres, and it is, as you can see, is zone A1 agricultural, as well as all surrounding properties, or adjacent properties, sorry. Property is currently undeveloped or doesn't have any structures on it as of this time. The applicant did submit a site plan with the application, which identified the construction of an elevated water storage tank on the property. Staff did have discussions with the applicant and did review the application materials. And staff identified in the staff report that this application is consistent with the Lincoln County Code of Ordinances. And if approved, would recommend the 7 conditions that were placed in the staff report. With that, we'd have to answer your questions that you have for staff.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Commissioners, any questions for staff? Seeing none,
Thank you.
All right, at this time, I'll ask the applicant or the representative come forward, please.
This application's for a new water tower. It's going
Gotta
to.
get your name and
Oh,
everything
sorry,
for the
yes.
record.
Eric Stearns with DGR Engineering, representing South Lincoln Rural Water. This application's for a new water tower for the system. It's going to improve redundancy within the system, and then operational and maintenance, or operational and energy costs for the system by reducing the amount that the water treatment plant is pumping on it on a daily basis. So it improves the total storage of the system. The tower is going to be 120 feet tall to 130 feet tall. It's going to be anywhere from 750,000 gallons to 1 million gallons, depending on how bids come in the spring. If we can fit a 1 million gallon tank in the bid price within the budget, then we'll build a 1 million gallon tank. This is really going to provide water to the entire system, an improvement for the entire system, ranging from up near T down to South Alcester. So construction on this project will start sometime would plan to start sometime in June of '23, and then that will carry till the end of '24. Once again, it's stretched out because of delivery schedules on materials and stuff like that. So, yeah, any questions?
All right, thank you, Eric.
You
Commissioners,
guys are
any
confident
questions?
on those dates from June, a June start date and?
As of right now,
Roughly,
we're in the process of getting the project approved for the permit from the state to get the project constructed. Those plans have been sent in. We should be getting comments back on them fairly soon, and then we'll bid that project as soon as we're ready. So that'll probably still be advertised here this December is our plan. Starting in June will all really then depend on the contractor's availability. With water towers, there's a very finite amount of contractors around the country. And so if they're trying to fill schedules and stuff like that or finish things up, it might get pushed maybe a month or two, but it'll be sometime early summer of '23 for construction.
And as far as the finish date, you're pretty confident in that too? You don't think?
Yep.
Once you get going, you don't think it'll take much longer than?
I don't think so, no. I think it's a matter of getting things started. The reason why we like to bid these out so far in advance in the fall is if it's ended up being a all steel tank, they can manufacture a lot of that during the winter, and then that allows them to get further ahead in that first construction season. Otherwise, if it's a concrete pedestal tank, like you'll see on the south side of Sioux Falls, a lot of that concrete can be poured then. If we hit that early summer, you can get all that concrete poured right away and get that steel in place, so.
So as being a representative, you've read the conditions and you don't have any issues with those?
No, nope.
Okay. All right, Commissioners, any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, I'll ask anybody in favor of the application, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll ask anybody in opposition of the application, please come forward.
Eric Enabo, I live at 47788 289th Street there. I'm a citizen of Highland Township, and I'm also the clerk there for the Highlanders down there. But I am in no way in opposition to the project. I'm in favor of rural water there, but I just have a concern. As you're probably all aware, taking care of the roads and maintaining it is a major portion of a township's budget down there, and I know there'll be a lot of truck traffic. So my only concern is, and it's probably already as part of the conditional use, but I want to be sure that such things as a road maintenance and repair document be agreed upon by both rural water and the Board of Supervisors of Highland Township to be sure everyone's on board as far as taking care of the roads and it's agreed upon. Part of my job as a clerk is to kind of keep track of some of those records, so I just want to be sure that that's part of the conditional use and that's looked at and can be agreed upon.
Thank you, Eric. Just for everyone here, item number 5 of the conditions, the permit holder shall comply with the road authorities, Highland Township, access requirements, improvements, and/or standards, if any. So in the conditions, it says they have to listen to your recommendation and the townships.
And with that, Toby, before a building permit would be issued, you'd need the proper township documentation or agreements. Yep.
All right, I'll ask anybody else in opposition of the application, please come forward. All right, seeing none, I will close the floor to public comment, and I'll ask for a motion from the commission.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve with the conditions. Hogan?
Second, Johnson.
All right, we have a motion and a second with the conditions. Any further discussion? No, I agree. I know water is a big deal in our area, and it's pressure and conditions and growth and expansion always need improvements like this to the system, so I'll support this. All right, with that, I'll do roll call. Commissioner Hogan,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Scott,
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
And Commissioner Jungley is also a yes. Thank you much. All right, that's the end of our applications. Is there any new business, Mr. Brown?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So typically I update the Planning Commission on any items that's been referred to the Board of Commissioners. There hasn't been any items that rezones but there was a appeal of a conditional use permit from your denial last month. That's East River Electric for their maintenance outpost building. That public hearing and decision will be conducted tomorrow morning on that application. The applicant did revise quite a few of the items based on the comments that were at the Planning Commission meeting last month. If you have any questions or comments, the agenda item is posted on the county website as well as all the updated revised materials. The other thing I wanted to quickly mention is that typically in December, we do a joint work session with the Board of Commissioners. We typically do that starting at, our meeting starts at 6:30, but we typically start that about 5 o'clock, and then we will provide a meal for you guys for that. I just wanted to make sure before I ask them for that, set that date, is if you're all gonna be available for that meeting. And so again, that's our next.
What's the date?
I think it's the 20.
Guess I could find
Let me look here once we get a calendar here. I think it's the week of Christmas. That's 21st.
26th,
21st. Yeah, is that
it's a
right?
Wednesday.
What's the Monday then?
19th.
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 Oh,
It's
I'm in
the
November.
19th.
19th.
So I struck out twice there, so yeah. So.
Toby, you'll be lucky I will not be there.
So again, the purpose of that meeting is staff does kind of an annual review. We go through all the permits, numbers we had, the growth numbers and that. But if you recall, you've been asking quite a few times to meet with the commissioners to discuss some of the development that we've had this year and kind of just have, and again, that's our work session, so it's just meant to be kind of a open agenda for you, for both of your boards to kind of engage and discuss, as well as I'm going to look at it as kind of a kickoff. Again, we've been funded for the conference plan update, so it's really kind of a time for us to talk to about kind of how that's going to work and expectations and some of those things. So, but I don't see any huge objections. Most of you can plan on being there at 5 o'clock for that meeting, so we'll send out a reminder again for that. But I'll request probably the next Board of Commissioners meeting to set that with them officially. So, okay. Let's-
Toby,
Yep.
request, on that meeting, would you discuss with both boards, you and I have talked some time ago about the sanitary sewer, or the septic system
Yep.
engineering requirement. I think we could fine tune that just to the engineers or the installer being certified and having to go through the procedure. I don't have an opinion one way. Well, I will say, yes, I do have an opinion one way. But it doesn't mean that I'm trying to influence anybody. I just think it could be, discussed and reviewed and see if there's an alternative to that. So,
Yep.
thank you.
Okay. Otherwise, that's all I had.
All right. Well, with that, I see the last thing on our agenda is adjournment. I'll ask for a motion.
I will move to adjourn. Scott?
Second, Green.
Motion and a second. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Against? Thank you, we're adjourned.